There are patterns of behavior that will lead to you feeling either emotionally and financially prepared for retirement or scared out of your mind, dreading the idea that you might not ever be able to retire comfortably. Now, I sent out a survey to those who are part of the Retirement Nerds newsletter, which you should join if you haven't already, and here are the top 7 retiree regrets as told by retirees themselves. I'm going to start the list with arguably the most controversial. This was technically in 4th place in the survey, but I wanted to tackle it immediately because it can be as damaging to retirement as any of the others on this list, and that is retirees failing to teach their children how to become financially independent. The most impactful version of this for you on your retirement involves those situations where people are unable to control their financial assistance to their children. One of the contributors on this channel, Zach Call, talked about this at length in a video that looks like this. He shared how this problem among retirees is more likely to wipe out retirement plans than the government increasing tax rates or stock market changes or just about every other financially related issue once retirement hits. Much like the instructions that you would receive on an airplane, you've got to be able to secure your own metaphorical financial oxygen mask, because if your nest egg is wiped out as a result of you bailing out children, it can leave both you and your children in even more serious trouble. So for those of you who have children, teaching them to be financially independent is as important to you as a retiree as nearly anything else on this list. And if you are in a 2nd or 3rd marriage, kids and finances are going to need to be addressed. Now, there's a logical side of our existence, and then there's an emotional side. I have young kids. I'm trying to educate them on financial matters. But if down the road something happens to any of them to where we need to help them, whether that's a divorce or a health problem or employment issues, I'm not telling anyone here to ignore your kids and never help them. Many retirees find joy in helping their kids get their first home or their grandkids with college, but where we see retirees damage their own retirement, hurt their children in the long run, and regret their decisions is around this when financial assistance gets out of control. When they start subsidizing the lives of their children past emergency situations or past legitimate life needs and move into assistance into that child's or grandchild's wants, creating dependencies and laziness from the beneficiary, that's when more serious generational problems start to happen. I know countless retirees, including those in my own family, who just cannot refuse their children, or more often, their grandchildren, when asked for help. When I get to that point, I'll probably have the same tendencies. I also know of many situations where these children and grandchildren refuse to move out of the house, they refuse to find a job because they know that their retiree parents or grandparents will subsidize their lifestyles of video games and basement dwelling into their 20s, 30s, and 40s. If this is you, I'm not saying that anyone is a bad person or doesn't have reasons. All I'm sharing is the feedback from retirees who have regret around not teaching their children to be more financially independent. So it is a tricky line to balance, but be careful not to let your financial stability subsidize unhealthy behaviors from your kids or your grandkids. Again, this was the 4th most frequently answered regret on our survey, so it's out of order here, but I wanted to make sure as many people as possible understood this idea. The next regret is being poor by looking rich. Another way to say this is keeping up with the Joneses. This was most commonly expressed by retirees as they wish they had worried less about keeping up with their friends or what they felt society expected them to own or wear. As social media has become more prevalent, we are bombarded with constant messaging with more and more influencers claiming to make millions of dollars as just teenagers, and many people feel like they are behind where they should be based on their age, and they start to accumulate bad behaviors to keep up with a fake ideal. Some of the behaviors associated with this regret include accumulating high-interest debt through credit cards, luxury car payments or leasing vehicles, mortgages they couldn't afford, jewelry, shoes, clothes, toys, and expensive eating habits. Another common behavior here was anytime that they would get a raise in income, whether they got a new job or an inheritance, it immediately went to getting stuff, depreciating assets. Many retirees expressed regret around not taking that increase in income and saving or investing all or part of it while still living a similar life that they had been before the raise. It's important to understand that I'm not saying that experiencing luxury is bad, but if you're seeking this when you cannot afford it and you are using bad debt to finance these experiences instead of saving part of your income for the future, that's going to push your retirement and your financial freedom back years further away than you would experience otherwise. This is both leading up to retirement, so for those of you watching who are maybe in your 20s or 30s or 40s, but it's also at retirement. Boat purchases, shiny sports cars, or that RV that you've always dreamed of. These dream things that were supposed to bring joy often end up costing a lot in upfront costs. They cause tax problems that we will get to later. They cause Medicare premium problems, and then they come with ongoing maintenance costs that aren't always considered. Many retirees have learned through experience and regret that they wanted to use these toys, but they didn't end up using them nearly as often as they had planned, and they became financial money pits. Again, don't mistake me with saying that you shouldn't pursue what you consider the good things in life. I'm just echoing the regrets of thousands of retirees. A Dave Ramsey quote that has always stuck with me is that we buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like. The next retiree regret is actually two tied into one because they were tied in response rate on the survey. The first is failing to develop healthy financial communication with a spouse, and the second is failing to budget. Pretty easy to see the connection between these two. One spouse may be the saver while the other is the spender, and if there isn't communication there, problems are going to happen. Or even worse, both spouses are the spenders with no budgeting, and it causes financial strain, emotional strain, and eventually strain on your retirement. Several comments stated that divorces messed up retirement plans and that financial miscommunication was a root cause of the divorce. Divorces are expensive. Don't let financial miscommunications be the cause. So if you have a spouse, involve him or her in your immediate financial planning as well as your future retirement plan. Both parties need to set their egos aside and have open, honest conversations around your finances, your budgets, and your future goals. Often one spouse handles most of the finances, which is fine, but the other spouse needs to be involved, and both need an understanding of where the money is coming in compared to the funds that are going out to make sure that you are saving for retirement. Jim Birch, another contributor to the channel around estate planning, had great advice for couples who have one spouse controlling most of the finances.
I know this sounds so morbid, but we like to tell people, I'm like, every year when you're doing your taxes, and if it's a husband and wife, it doesn't hurt to go over the exercise of killing each other off hypothetically. A lot of times, one of the spouses runs all the finances. They run the show on everything. And if that one dies first, they leave that surviving spouse and they're like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. I don't even know where our assets, I know where the checking account is, but other than that, I have no idea. That's not good. If you guys have one of you that takes more of the lead in handling the finances, every year, sit down and you kill yourself off, hypothetically, and let your spouse tell you what they would do.
Going through this exercise helps both of you understand assets, liabilities, and goals for the future. For those of you who are single, you have just as much responsibility here because you are holding yourself accountable without having someone else to hold you accountable. I can tell you, I have held off on a whole lot of impulse buys over the 15 years of my marriage because I knew that it went against what my wife and I had established, and I didn't want to face the wrath of my wife in addition to my own guilt. If you don't have the safeguard of a spouse's wrath, you need to be even more vigilant against yourself because us humans are very good at justifying our behaviors and burying that self-guilt deep down. Failing to budget is an even easier trap to fall into if you don't answer to anyone. Make sure that you have a good understanding of your income versus your expenses. All right, number 4 on this list is retirees wish they would have paid more attention to physical health in order to prevent future healthcare costs. This one is near and dear to my heart, given that most of my attention is focused on the Medicare side of the retirement conversation. Preventable illnesses account for insane amounts of financial strain on individuals, meaning retirees, and on the healthcare system as a whole, which trickles down to everyone through elevated health insurance premium costs and longer wait times to get care at facilities that are already strained. I have 2 studies that I'll link to in the description. The first study notes that 27%, so 27 cents out of every dollar spent on healthcare in the United States is attributable to preventable diseases that result largely due to 5 risk factors: high body weight, high blood pressure, high blood sugars, dietary risks, and tobacco use. Most estimates have this accounting for nearly $800 billion in healthcare spend every year. The second study focuses less on costs and more on the causes of chronic diseases. Echoing the findings of the first study, many of these chronic, high-cost conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and respiratory diseases are preventable. The leading risk factors for preventable chronic diseases are physical inactivity, poor nutrition, tobacco use, and excessive alcohol use. These account for more than 50% of preventable disease deaths in the United States. More conscious, thoughtful decisions around diet and exercise are connected with nearly complete prevention or dramatic reductions in risks for things like cancers, diabetes, dementia, heart disease, and many other chronic conditions. Yes, these are very expensive health issues, but let's look past just the dollars and cents to the actual human experience here. Diet and exercise will help reduce inflammation and pain, injury, sickness, psychological trauma, and emotional heartache, which I think that we would all appreciate avoiding these things as much as possible. My wife is a fitness instructor who is in way better shape than I am, but she gets asked all the time, "Caitlin, what is the best exercise program for me to get in shape?" Her response is always the same. It's the exercise that you do, and it's the one that you do now. I'm guilty of this. I'll sit in front of my phone or my computer putting together this full body, perfect exercise plan that I never end up doing. And had I just gone on a walk around the neighborhood, that would have been better than just sitting around and planning. Start small, but do something for exercise and your overall wellness. If you like walking, walk. If push-ups are your thing, do push-ups. Weightlifting, pickleball, swimming, cycling. The exercise you do is better than doing nothing. Okay, we are now to our top 3 retiree regrets. At number 3, retirees wish that they had gotten more professional help earlier. I want to be as careful as I can here because my whole experience at this point includes professional help around retiree decisions, so I'm going to try my best not to be self-serving or salesy. Here are some areas where retirees wish that they had brought in professional help sooner and more often. Financial planning, investing, taxes, Social Security, Medicare, insurance in general, estate planning, and real estate. There are others. Many viewers of this channel are high-level DIYers or do-it-yourselfers. There are aspects of my life where I am the same way, and then there are others where I am not. The only thing that I'll say here around professional help, at least with the services that we offer, Medicare, Social Security, financial planning, investment management, and estate planning, is we get a lot of people who went the DIY route, but they missed some small details that ended up having big impacts on aspects of their plan that they didn't know were all connected to each other. Sometimes it is fixable, sometimes it's not. Now, I'm not saying that you need to use us. What I am saying is find professionals who you trust, who specialize in the retirement aspects of your life where you do not have the expertise or the time to figure it out. Preparing correctly at the beginning is easier than fixing a mistake later. All right, the second most common retiree regret is they wish they had done more strategic tax planning. There are a few things that make up this overall concept. For many, taxes will be your biggest expense. There are a lot of taxes floating out there for you to pay. Income tax, FICA tax, capital gains tax, property tax, sales tax, excise tax, and estate tax. There are others, and not all of these apply to everyone, but there are tax laws in place where if you understand them or you use somebody who does, you can save a lot of your retirement income by saving on taxes. Add into this the different investment types, retirement accounts, and others. For example, Roth versus traditional 401ks or IRAs, 403bs, 529 accounts for kids, health savings accounts or HSAs for healthcare expenses. There are a lot of accounts and structures that come with different tax strategies, each with their own pros and cons. If you own a business, how you structure that business can make significant impacts on your tax situation, meaning a sole proprietorship versus a partnership, LLCs, S Corp or C Corps. All of these structures can carry different tax implications to understand. Planning around your income sources in retirement will help you better control your tax costs into retirement. Remember back to number 6 on this list, keeping up with the Joneses. If you pull out money from certain investment accounts to purchase things like boats, RVs, second homes, or make home improvements, this can push your income past certain thresholds that have impacts on costs specific to your retirement. Things like your marginal tax bracket, if you're pre-65, your ACA insurance premiums. If you are 65 or older, your Medicare premiums can jump by up to $444 more per month per person based on your income as a result of what's called IRMA, the Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. And with Medicare, it's a 2-year look back. So the effects of an uninformed decision today may not rear their ugly head until 2 years down the road when you may not remember or you haven't budgeted for those future consequences. The amount of your Social Security income that can be taxed can change as well based on how much income you take. All of these are tax-specific situations that require an understanding of how several accounts and tax codes and federal programs like Social Security and Medicare all work together. It's stupidly complicated, which is why this area of better tax planning is the second most common retiree regret as listed by retirees. Okay, the number one regret, whether someone is rich or poor or anywhere in between, is they wish that they would have started saving and investing sooner. You cannot replace time, and the earlier that you start saving and investing, the more time that your money has to start taking advantage of the miracle of compounding. Albert Einstein is often credited with saying compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it. Another physicist, also named Albert Allen Bartlett, in reference to the growth of human cells, said that the greatest shortcoming of the human race is our inability to understand the exponential function. This also applies with money. The Warren Buffett wealth story is now common knowledge, but look at this wealth journey of Warren Buffett, who started investing at 11 years old. At 59 years old, his net worth was $3.8 billion. Nothing to scoff at, but it took him 48 years to accumulate that amount. After another just 33 years, his net worth was $109 billion, an increase of $105.2 billion in 15 years, less time than it took him to accumulate just $3.8 billion. An almost 2,800% increase in wealth happened after he turned 60 years old. Wealth building takes time, but compounding growth is exponential growth, and most of us have a hard time understanding exponential growth. But that's Warren Buffett. That's billions of dollars. That's not you and me. Some of you watching are retirees. The accumulation phase is done, and you either started early enough or you didn't to fulfill your retirement needs. If you haven't reached retirement yet, and you haven't started this yet, get started immediately. If you have started saving and investing, stay strong, continue to do so. Just like my wife's advice with exercise, and the best exercise is the one that you do and the one that you do now, same with saving and investing. Start or continue now. No matter where you are in your life, finding opportunities to save and invest will allow you to welcome retirement with less apprehension. This video applies to many generations of people, young, middle-aged, and we'll say more experienced, which leads me to my secret hidden word. If you are new to the channel, thank you for spending time with me. I leave secret words towards the end of my videos to help with comment management. If you've made it this far and leave the secret word or words in the comments, then I know that you've made it to the end and I can take those comments a little bit more seriously. This video's secret word is actually a game right here called OK Boomer. We own this game and we bring it with us to family gatherings like the one that we had around the holidays. There are trivia questions from different eras. So we've got Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, Baby Boomers, and the Silent Generation. To win, you or your team need to correctly answer a question from each era. Our family loves this game because my Gen Z kids know answers to questions that their millennial parents or Gen X aunts and uncles or boomer grandparents do not know, and it's a great way for multiple generations to have fun together in a more interesting way. So if you leave boomer in the comments, that'll be our little secret. You can also buy the OK Boomer game with the link in the description of this video. Now, full transparency, it is through an Amazon affiliate link. So if you purchase it through that link, you don't pay any more, but I think that I make about 16 cents. So if you want this game, but you don't want me earning such vast amounts of wealth, just go to Amazon and search OK Boomer. I appreciate you making it this far. Here is a video where I interview Zach Call about what decisions can destroy someone's retirement. I will see you over there.